As a preliminary matter, I'm going to confirm that all members of the board are present and can hear me. I am Bob Springett, Chair. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Jeffries.
Affirmative.
Robin Hunter.
Present.
Are you presently affirmative or affirmatively present?
I am present at the meeting.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kate O'Brien.
Affirmative.
Dave Sullivan.
Here.
Chris Dwelly.
Present.
Okay. So I guess we're going to commence the meeting. Thank you. Item 1.1. Oh, I'm sorry. I checked earlier. Are there any citizens' comments? No. Okay. Item 1.1, Police Chief McGowan to appoint a part-time officer.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I have a recommendation for a part-time police officer position. We had hired one of our part-timers for a full-time position a few meetings ago, and we are now trying to backfill that slot. And we had our interview panel a few weeks ago, made up of a couple of officers and a couple of town residents, and they recommended that Colin Young be put forth for vetting. Colin comes to us. He's a graduate of Norwich University, and he has experience with the North Attleboro Police and Fire Department as a dispatcher, and he currently works at Framingham State University as a police officer. Colin's available to us immediately and can start his training as early as 2 weeks, depending on the successful completion of the usual stipulations of the job, conditional job offer, should the board choose to do so.
Okay. John, any questions?
None from me, Mr. Chair.
Robin?
I just want to know if there are any police officers left at Framingham State. Isn't this the second or third one? Taken from
Fourth one.
Fourth. Yeah, I tend to avoid the chief from Framingham State University when we go to meetings.
I can well understand why.
I can see why, but I don't have any questions.
Is that why you're kind of in the dark, Chief? You don't want to be seen on the Zoom?
He's looking for me, exactly.
Okay. Well, then I move to approve the appointment of Colin Young as a part-time police officer to the Dover Police Department, subject to the successful completion of customary required testing.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor? Aye, Bob Springer.
Aye,
Robin.
John Jeffries. I'm sorry, Robin.
I messed up, John. I know I'm supposed to go third. I was jumping the gun.
Shocking.
I know, shocking.
Did we get the 3 votes?
Yes.
I think so.
All right, so Kate, put Robin on the list for remedial training.
Yeah, that'll work.
And I know John's on here as a perennial, so it's okay. It's not a big deal.
John, we'll practice. You second, you go first, then I go next.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All right, so item 1.2, reading of certificate of resolution for Craig Hughes. That's Craig. I'm wearing the tie in your honor. I only wear ties for very, very special occasions, and this has got to be one of the biggest. It is with my deepest appreciation and gratitude for your 45 years of devotion and service to Dover, Massachusetts. It's mind-blowing in very, very many regards. And so, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, and I'm sure all the residents of the town of Dover, I am going to attempt to read, Craig, because I'm going to have to put on my specs. I'm going to attempt to read this resolution. So hang on a second. So here we go. Town of Dover, a resolution. Whereas Craig S. Hughes on November 11th, 2020, will have completed 45 years of service to the town of Dover, Massachusetts. And whereas Craig Hughes has served on the fire department and the highway department over the last 4 decades, beginning with the fire department in 1975, serving as chief since 2016, and beginning concurrently at the highway department in 1986, serving as superintendent of streets since 2004. And whereas, in addition to his service on the fire department and the highway department, Craig Hughes has served as the forest warden, the hazardous waste coordinator, Metro West RTA representative, right to know coordinator, and member of the tree committee. And whereas Craig Hughes has tirelessly served Dover with honor and distinction, he is a leader respected by all who know and work with him, and his sincere commitment, thoughtfulness, and dedication to the fulfillment of his duties touch the lives of all Dover citizens, making the town a special community in which to live. And I wholeheartedly endorse that. Craig proudly and admirably represents the town and conveys the spirit and character of Dover. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen publicly recognizes, commends, and extends our deep gratitude to Craig Hughes for his lasting contributions to the town and for his extraordinary service and devotion to Dover. And the bottom says, signed the 5th day of November, 2020. Greg, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I won't even mention the golf. John or Robin, would you like to add anything?
Bob, we all had our chance to say a few words to Craig at our outdoor event, so I'm going to yield my time to others. And the only thing I could add to the comments was to remind Craig, when I made the comment at town meeting a couple of years ago that we were in the process of adding more heaters to the streets to melt the snow, Craig, people actually did believe that. So thanks for keeping me warm on those freezing cold days when I stopped to get in your truck. But everything's been said. I'm looking forward to hearing a couple of the others. Thanks, Bob.
Robin?
I just want to say thank you, Craig, for everything you have done for the town, for what you've done for me personally. You know, you supported me and the Board of Selectmen over the past year or 2 years, which was a very difficult time for us. You truly demonstrated your leadership. And thank you doesn't seem a big enough word for what you've done for us. So I really appreciate your support and your leadership. And you need to know we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
So before I ask Craig to say a few words, I'll open it up to anybody who's on. If you raise your hand, I'll recognize you, and Kate will hopefully unmute you. Carol?
I think I need to unmute. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to do 2 Zoom meetings at once, so I'm on here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I've got a hospital trustee meeting going on. So about 23 or 24 or 25 years ago, or whenever it was that I got involved with the warrant committee and soon got to know Craig. And I realized that there was one person in town who was as concerned about every dollar and cent that was spent more than any other citizen and any other warrant committee member and any other capital budget committee member and, quite frankly, any other selectman. And that was Craig. And it wasn't that he was cheap, but it was basically a devotion to this town, to do what is right for this town, year after year, day after day, storm after storm. And if there's one thing that I've said to folks who have asked for any advice and counsel over the years, whether it's on the warrant committee or capital budget committee, I've always said there's one sure thing in town, and that is whatever Craig Hughes tells you he needs, because he needs so little and he makes so much of what he has. So Craig, thank you, and thank you.
So I am I'm going to sort of bump Jim, he who patient is patient, and apparently we have some interlopers in the meeting tonight. Representative Denise Garlick and our Senator Mike Rush, and they have some words to say as well. I don't know who wants to take the lead on this political side, so I'll leave it up to you guys to figure it out. Senator Rush or Denise, who's going to go? You're muted. Both of you are muted. Here you go. Denise, you're still muted.
Oh my. Go. If our senator is here, please, Mike, feel free to go first.
Well, thank you very much. Just very quickly, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, all those in attendance tonight, Chris Dwelly, thank you. Honored to have been invited here on this call this evening. And I am honored and privileged to represent the town of Dover with the heart and soul of Dover on Beacon Hill, my colleague and friend, Representative Denise Garlick. And we are here today to offer sincere thanks to Craig for his public service. And as we all know on this call, great things just don't happen. It takes blood, sweat, and tears to make communities wonderful and terrific places to live. And certainly, Craig, we congratulate you on all that you have done to make the town of Dover an outstanding community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So as mentioned, I'm honored and privileged to be here. And my colleague on Beacon Hill is has got some wonderful words on your behalf and for what you've done. So I'm going to turn it over to the outstanding Representative Denise Garlick. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So Craig, to you with a very full heart, I want to thank you for your years of public service and all that we know and love and respect and treasure about the town of Dover is embodied in your public service. I have the opportunity to share with you the official document, and this is from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, from the House of Representatives, and from the State Senate as well. And it is a document that commends you for your service. So for Craig Hughes, for your 45 years of keeping the people of Dover safe as a member and chief of the Dover Fire Department, and for your 34 years of extraordinary service to the Dover Highway Department. We wish you all success in the future, and we hope that the future returns to you all that you have given to the people of Dover. It is signed by Senator Mike Rush, by myself, by the Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo, and by the President of the Senate, Karen Spilka. And I just want you to know, Craig, that this is a small token, I know, but it's because your work extends. We talk so much about Dover and the community, but the belief that strong communities make for a strong state makes for a strong country. Everything that you have done matters every single day that you have done it. And I would close with just this one word. If I knew that Mike Rush was going to wear his Patriots sweatshirt, I would have worn my Dover Firefighters t-shirt. All my best to you. All my best to you.
Denise, thank you very, very much. Senator Rush, thank you so much. Craig, I don't know if you want to say a word or two at this point, or you want to wait until afterward.
Yeah, no, thanks, Denise. Thank you, Mike. The Board of Selectmen, thank you very much. Good old Carol. And yeah, it's tough. It's very tough, and it's a wonderful, wonderful town. I gotta tell you, and the way it's run, and the finances, and the different boards and committees. Really, people really ought to appreciate living in this town. And I treated it like my carpet, and it's just, I don't know what else to say. It's just, I think you all know, and I appreciate it, and my family for enduring all those storms and power outages and so forth. And yeah, no, thank you very, very much. That's very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And I know you really liked all those storms because, man, that was fun to do. I'll bet. So now I'm going to go back to Jim. Jim?
Thank you, Bob. On behalf of Board of Fire Engineers, I'd like to thank Craig for all his decades of work for the town, both in the highway and in the fire. And I've known Craig in a number of different capacities. First, when I was on warrant, and then I was a selectman for 6 years, 6 long years. But you made the selectman's job that much easier because we know you valued the town. We know that you didn't spend money. And now that I'm on the Board of Fire Engineers, and we had our meeting this past week, which was your last meeting, and it was an emotional meeting because as a citizen, I'm very sorry to see you go. The Hughes family is huge to the town. Actually, I was a selectman when you became chief at the request of the Board of Fire Engineers then. But I just want to say thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you, Bob, for that all.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, I'm going to just say, Craig, I don't want to repeat what I said at the retirement dinner, but again, it's with deep gratitude and mixed emotions. Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll be around.
Anything?
Be around if you need me.
Say that too.
Okay, then, assuming that Mona will actually get you this thing so you can actually look at it, the thing I'm looking at on the screen. It's really pretty nice, so hung up on the wall. We're gonna move on. Item number 1.3. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Participating, please stick by. We're gonna have, an interesting update on our modernization efforts coming up next. You may want to stick around and see what's happening. Thanks, Greg. Item 1.3, modernization overview. The presenter is going to be Dave Sullivan, our municipal project manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Geez, how do I follow up after that with a nice boring presentation on IT stuff? So, Kate, if you could give me presentation. Thank you. I still don't have it. Oh, now I have it. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen? All right, great. So thank you again for allowing me to present tonight. I'm doing a IT modernization overview of the projects that we've been undertaking here to modernize the IT infrastructure for the town of Dover. My name's Dave Sullivan. I'm the municipal project manager. So first, I'd like to kind of break this down into 3 main components. One, the upgrade of the security, then the build out of the Active Directory domain, and then the modernization of the network. So with the upgrade of the security, first step was to evaluate the current network, then enhance the virus and malware protection, and then install some SIMS software. I will, in future slides, break down what this all means and talk about the acronyms such as SIMS as well. So I will bring this down to a higher level. I will break it down from a higher level to a little bit lower level and use English terms as instead of these tech terms. So with the base of building up our security, we then needed to build out our Active Directory domain. starting with the update of our hardware, virtualization of our servers, and then the creation and migration of users and groups. And so with all this built out, we needed a more modern network to deliver these services. So we modernized the network as well. That's moving to a single network, updating our Wi-Fi, and looking at some next steps with all these tools and enhancements. So for the security upgrade, we hired a managed service provider who reviewed the town's IT hardware, looking at desktops, servers, switches, and firewalls, and also looked at our network connections. Right away, they noted that we needed to update patches on the devices. We needed to get some modern virus and malware protection. That's the Sophos software that we're using. And we also got a remote support service, Splashtop. So this was allowed the managed service provider to actually log into computers to help people from a distance. Splashtop also became very important once we started dealing with the pandemic, since this allowed people to work from home and access their work computers. SIMs, this is pretty much, I would say, the most important aspect of the security enhancement, and that is our security information management system. So this is what monitors our traffic, gives us alerts on any malicious traffic. There are plenty of dashboards that are available for us to look at. And if some bad actor does manage to pass through and get into a device, it can quickly be isolated and taken offline. So now the build out of the domain, we're all set, we're secure, and now we want to build out the Active Directory domain. So first was the hardware upgrade. So that is moving to managed devices. These are Datto firewalls, switches, and access points. These allow us to manage them from dashboards. So no longer do we have to go in to the server room to manage these. We're able to manage them with dashboards from afar. Another hardware upgrade that we looked into was the UPSs. This is the uninterrupted power supply. So these aren't managed, but they are very, very important. So without this, when we lose power, the firewalls, the switches go down, we lose connectivity. Making sure that we have the uninterrupted power allows the firewalls to switch over to a 4G failover. So if we lose power, we would still have internet for at least 10 to 15 minutes till it comes back up. The server virtualization, we are currently running Microsoft Server 2012. What we did was take our Microsoft Server 2012 and we virtualized it. So what that is in layman's terms is we took one server and using software made two isolated unique servers. So this is really a best practice, especially when you're going to an Active Directory domain, because it allows you to create one server that just manages the domain and then another server for whatever needs you need. We are using it for a file server, so that's where our shared files are. So right now we have two servers, a domain server and a file server that were virtualized out of our original server. This also gives us stability. So if one of the servers goes down, it doesn't take down the other one. So we would still have some backups. And for the data backups nightly, it's easier to back up software than it is a hardware device. Next step is creating the groups and users. So we went through, created all the users, and once we created them and their roles, moved them over to the Active Directory, then created the groups, moved the groups over to the Active Directory, and moved the users to the groups that they should be in. We also then moved our scanners and printers over to Active Directory. This makes it a lot easier. Before, if I'm let's say moved somebody from downstairs to upstairs, and they needed now to be set up with the printer closest to them. I would used to have to go and get the IP address of the printer and actually manually put it onto their device. Now with Active Directory, I can just do a quick search based off the printer name, and they're all ready to go and print in a matter of seconds. We also moved the access points over to the Active Directory, and I will talk about that on the next slide in the network modernization. So the network modernization, now that we've built out all this good stuff, we need a way to actually get it to people. So we moved over to a single network. So we made sure all the buildings are connected by site-to-site VPN network. This gives people access to servers from any of the buildings. Before, somebody in Carroll wouldn't have access to the server in the townhouse. Now they have access to that server as if they were sitting in the townhouse. So all the buildings now are connected and on one network. This is really a big step. So now allows people to access shared drives and shared folders on the server. The Wi-Fi, moving that over to Active Directory, it allowed us to now create two separate Wi-Fi networks, one which is just for the employees and one for guests. The employees now log into the Wi-Fi with their Active Directory login, and guests will see a splash page with terms of service where they'll enter their name and email address. So some next steps we'd like to take is create a single sign-on. So this would be Active Directory driven. So AD and Google G Suite would be under the same login. So this would now allow for staff to log in with one single sign-on. Makes it a lot easier. They don't have to remember as many passwords. The server room, I'd like to get some professional racks and move all the equipment into the racks. With the modernization effort, we've really started to get more and more equipment, and I think that needs to be put into more of a professional setting for the protection of the equipment and the ease of use. So putting them into some professional racks and then doing some cable management with it as well. We're also now undertaking a printer audit where we are looking at printers throughout the whole town, looking at the make, model, age of the printers, seeing if there's some cost savings to do some managed print services in the future. And with Tab, they had me create a really useful matrix where we can now review software going forward and see where our software needs are as well. So I've been talking about Active Directory, and I'm sure the question is, what is it? And so, you know, the base answer is Active Directory is Microsoft's answer to directory services, and that tells you nothing. So I'll tell you what a directory service is. Directory service is a container that provides a hierarchical structure and allows you to store objects for quick and easy manipulation. That tells you even less than the first one. So basically, in layman's terms, what it is, it's like a electronic phone book. So it tells you who people are, where they are, and basically what services they should have. So that's a quick way. And then for an admin, it allows you to quickly move and allow people access to various resources, whether that's a printer, a PC, or a server. So, you know, that gets down into provides users with one set of credentials. You know, I can read that for you, but basically it's a way where we can manage all users across all devices quickly and easily and securely as well. So what are the benefits to Dover? Right away, I always start with security. So with moving over to Active Directory, we have one-click access and removal for people. So if I have somebody who joins the town, it's very easy for me to create a login for them. They can now log into any computer they want, not just one single computer. So it gives us a lot more flexibility, but also it gives us the security of if somebody leaves, it's basically one click for me to remove their access to the network. Admins are set at a higher level, so there's no longer just an admin at every desktop. It's set at a higher level, so you can control what people are allowed to do on the device, downloading and installing software for that purpose. So that's where it keeps people from accessing malicious software. So if somebody does click on something by accident and it's asking you to allow for an install, only an admin will be allowed to do that at a higher level. Also really secures the password management as well. So now it's you're not allowed to use simple passwords, no Dover123. You can't reuse passwords. And when you're logging into the Wi-Fi, it's not a generic password anymore. So it's not like one Wi-Fi password that everybody knows. Somebody walks in, what's the password? They're given it. So this way we know who is logged into the network at any one time. So for administration of users, there are now group policies. So once people are moved into those groups, there are hierarchical policies that allows me to really manage what people have access to. The access to the shared folders is much easier to manage now. And the Active Directory is really the basis we need for electronic document management in the future. So if we go with a service such as Laserfish or anything like that, they require an Active Directory. So when people are uploading documents, it has a path where they go to and are tagged properly. And any future software implementation now also is much easier, since I wouldn't have to go from device to device and touch them each one manually. So, you know, before when, let's say we were installing Sophos, that was myself or a tech going from machine to machine, each individual user's machine, touching it, downloading the software, putting it on there. Now it can be pushed out at a higher level. So basically now what we're able to do is really manage these devices from a higher level. And it also gives a lot more flexibility to the end user as well. So if an end user has to move from one area to another for whatever reason, they log into another computer and they are able to quickly and easily pull up their all their software access and everything like that. So if I log in with my AD credentials, let's say on Kate's computer, my desktop's going to come up. So it gives a lot more flexibility that way as well. And also by building out the benefits to Dover, I would say is this is basically the baseline that we need to move forward with any other project. We now have a secure network that's easily managed and that we can, moving forward, any implementation would be cut in half in terms of time and difficulty as well. So any questions?
So Dave, I have two.
Sure.
So an awful lot of work went into the security side.
Yes.
Of our infrastructure. And if you can, can you remind people what we were finding when we first started to look at our infrastructure? And the follow-up question is, you just touch a little bit on the training, the staff training program that goes along with all of this
Sure.
implementation.
Sure. So yeah, the security aspect of it, when they first did their review and evaluation of it, our managed service provider actually made an emergency trip down because our system was pretty much exposed. We didn't have any of the filters, our firewalls were out of date, and our PCs were not really patched. So Part of this also allows us to push out these security patches. The PCs now are downloading the security patches. We're not requiring staff to make sure they remember to update their machines. They're updated, the patches are pushed out. And then we also have the ability to, at a certain point each week, reset all the computers as well. So basically, we went from totally unmanaged PCs and people just accessing basically the wide open internet to now having layers and layers of security, and also having the devices up to date with the security patches as well. So not only do you have to get through the firewall, but then you're also monitored by the SIM software, and then you have the malware and virus detection on the PC. So we went from outdated software, outdated virus protection to top of the line on all that. For training, really we've been doing training kind of threefold. We just sent out a survey for folks to see how they've been enjoying the trainings, but we're doing trainings basically. Kate's been doing a lot on the website. I've been doing a lot on the G Suite. So that's our main production software, basically Google's version of Microsoft Office. So I've been doing various trainings on that. And then Kathy LaPlante has been doing trainings on Vadar and our software as well. Whenever we switched to, when we switched over to Active Directory, there are screenshots and emails that go out telling staff what the change is, when to expect it, the screenshot of where to put it. And additionally, we have a shared drive with all these trainings that are on them and in various folders. So we have a Vadar folder, we have a G Suite folder, and we have a Active Directory folder. So people are given training and screenshots. And now by putting out a survey as well, we're asking people what do they kind of want to see in the future from training, and from the past trainings, what did they like and did not like.
Thank you. Anyone? John?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chair. Dave, thank you very much. Dave, I'll tell you one quick thing. When my IT guys in our office and our compliance guys, when they give us presentations like you just did, they go through the whole process, and as you just did highlight what the end results were. You know it's a good presentation when at the end of the presentation you say to yourself, oh my God, how did we do this without what we just did? How did we get by without it? So thank you. Two quick things. One, you said about the equipment and the server racks and building the stack, the stack for the racks. Where is it now? Where do we currently have it?
So there are shelves built in what I would call a server room, but it's I think it's time for us. I mean, they're secure. It's up off the ground. It's in a air-conditioned room, but I think it's time now for us to do it professionally. And usually, what you do, it's kind of layered. So you have your UPSs on the bottom, followed by your servers, then your switches. And so it kind of goes up from there. And so, if you do now add equipment, you're not just stacking one on top of another on a shelf. You're actually putting it in a rack, securing it. Everything's screwed in on the rack. The rack's secured to the floor. So if there is, any sort of catastrophic event that could, move anything in there. So, we wouldn't have to worry about the air conditioning falling on anything. We wouldn't worry about, things falling off a shelf. Everything is secure.
Is it physically in the room right now downstairs behind the in the common room where sort of the long fireplace room, the room behind?
No,
it's in the highway department, isn't it, Dave?
No, it's actually in the townhouse. It's in a small room that's right next to the men's room.
Ah, what happened to when Diane's office was in the highway department? I thought that was also a site.
We also have some equipment there, but it's basically a lot less than what's in the townhouse. The townhouse is where we have the main, the majority of our equipment. But in each of the buildings, we would like to, put them in a more secure rack. Actually, Carol has a rack affixed to the wall and with the equipment set up in there. So that Carol's probably the best building right now for that. But I think as we go forward, now that we have the equipment, we have it set up, it only makes sense for me now to actually, professionally have it mounted as well.
As we complete the physical space assessment, would you like to have it all in all those three places that you just mentioned? Would you like to have it all in one place?
You still need to have equipment like switches in each building. So I think each building needs to have equipment. So I just think as we do the space assessment, as long as, the space is secure and, built professionally, just with a rack. So, any room will pretty much do as long as it's air conditioned and there's room enough for a rack. So what's available at the townhouse right now serves the needs. I want to make sure that, it is, and I think Kate did put in for it, that going forward, it is, kept in a secure location. I believe that has been in the space assessments thought of.
Last thing for me, Dave, is as we continue mobile stations for document management in the building department and for permits and permitting and having the whole electronic document workflow for even things for licenses at the clerk's office, will the steps that you just went through make it a more seamless transition into those pathways, those document management pathways?
Yeah, definitely, because Active Directory, anything like Laserfiche or anything that is a major document management software solution needs to have basically what I would call, think of it as traffic rules. So your stoplight, your maps on where to go. So that's what Active Directory would do for that. So somebody puts in a document, this would allow it, who the user is and where they should have access to, where the document should go.
Great, thank you. Robin?
I thought it was really well done. Nice job. It was good to get an overview of what you've been working on. It all makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1.4, personnel classification and compensation study update. Kate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your packet, we have a proposed scope for a compensation study from the Collins Center. A little background, the town went out for bid for a classification and compensation study in August, but we ended up only receiving one bid that met our minimum requirements, and that one was actually from the Collins Center. So instead of going out to bid again, just because of the time that it would take, the Personnel Board met and reviewed the Collins Center scope and decided to go forward with just a compensation study in order to get to the data by July 1st, 2021. I have Mary Harrigan is here, the chair of the Personnel Board, so I'll hand it over to her.
Appreciate that we've been working with Kate, and I think it's very important, and the committee believes that we should be contacting you and letting you know every step of the way what's happening, so that we all make this flow so that the town has what it needs. And clearly last year, we realized that not having the financial information made it very difficult without the comp study. And as we were just talking about, it's not just the fact that we didn't have the right material, but it's going to be a more complex process, I think. And tell me if you think I'm wrong, that the classification will probably take a little longer than the compensation will. It's just more complex. You've got to interact with a lot of people in the town, a lot of employees and managers to get the right information. And so we wanted to work with you, with Kate and Chris, to make sure that we were supportive and the town was supportive and got you the compensation you needed and found the right group to be able to do the classification group because it's more complex. Would you agree with that, Kate?
Yes, absolutely. We all thought collectively that the main priority should be getting the data in time in the summer, and a classification study would take much longer. So
I think you and Chris too are reaching out to try to find other people to be able to look at the profiles and be willing to do this classification study, because we really didn't, as you said, have anyone that really had the qualifications. And so we'll have the comp for the financial information we need for the budget. And sometime after that, hopefully not too long after that, we'll be able to take that financial data and tie it to the classification when we have the jobs reset and know what those specific jobs are, because they haven't been done in a long time. So I think we're both on the same page. I think that we want to make sure that we're doing what you feel is appropriate. And I think the two-step is the best way for us to go. And I think we'll stay closely to help in any way we can with Kate and with Chris. When we get a group to do this, if they want us to be involved, sit down to make sure that whoever that vendor is doing it, we're keeping them on time. And we're also making sure that we're going to get what we want at the end, so that we don't wait and get the product and not be happy with it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. So the compensation study will basically just look at our job descriptions and roles and ensure and tell us what the average salaries are for those roles.
Yes, so they will take the jobs and they will go out to other towns and say, a particular position in Dover is being paid $40,000, but in all these other towns are being paid $20,000 or $90,000. So you're going to compare that to other towns. What the classification will do for us will make sure that we haven't looked at these jobs in a long time. And it will be interesting to see the jobs as we're structured. Is that the way other towns are doing it? That'll be interesting information. Plus, you'll be able to take the numbers that you get from the comp study and be able to put it into a classification study. And you'll have two views of things that are all new data. So not only will it be new number data, it'll be new position data. So it'll put us in a place where we really have information.
All right, so basically the comp study will give us, for lack of a better term, market. The salary study will give us market salaries for our current roles, but the comp study is much broader, or the classification study is much broader. That will actually look at the roles and see if the role that we have documented really matches the role that is being performed or needs to be performed.
Yes. And it also will allow you to look at size, because if you have a position that's making a lot less money, but you look at the size of that compared to Newton or some other place, it's bigger. You could be able to rationalize why the dollars are different.
Okay.
So the jobs we're smaller and we're more complex. So it may not be totally, it may not be absolutely easy to make the match, but we'll have better data to compare it to.
So now would we use the Collins Center to do the classification study, or it doesn't matter, we could use somebody else?
I think we need to look at someone else. I mean, they might be able to do it, but I don't think they're the best in town. And I think
Okay.
Chris would agree with that in the sense of their complexity. Yeah, it's a different, doing the financial is much more straightforward than doing the classification.
Okay, all right.
So that's why we put it out to bid again. And
No,
because we've
makes
reached
sense.
out to people and they can apply and we can look at them again. But I think they're not the only show in town, and it's the only show in town we've seen.
Okay.
Anything else, Robin?
No,
Thank you. John?
Mary, how long do you think it would take to get the Collins, to get the second party for the classification study?
Candidly, it depends on when we get the people to respond and give us a proposal. It is, I believe, Kate, posted now, and we've reached out.
It hasn't been posted yet. I think I know Chris has reached out to a couple firms, and I have as well, just to see interest and time.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been officially posted yet. The classification.
If you want my gut feeling, we can get the comp data for July and we'll stay on them. It might be November or December when we get the classification done, depending on how quickly we can find the right people. And then it's not a lot of positions, but you've got to match them up right. And we'll have to work relatively closely with them because they don't know Dover, and they're going to have to meet the people, and they're going to have to meet the managers and get the information. So we're going to have to keep that on track to get it towards the end of the year, I would guess.
Thank you. I know the warrant committee is going to ask, that would be one of the first questions they ask in terms of timing. So.
Well, we're going to get the comp study
Yeah.
over, hell or high water. But the other, it's a little bit hard to tell because you're going to have the managers and the employees involved, and you're going to just have to make sure that both the company and everyone else is moving to to the times that we need to have.
Yes, and the Collins Center has confirmed that they could complete the study by July 1st. So we will have that data.
And we're going to meet with them in some sort of time span, so that we're not going to just say, go do it, and then July 1st ask them, how's it going? I think we need to meet monthly or something like that. Just a phone call to make sure we kind of know where they are. And if they need help, if we can do something to keep things on track.
right, it might also make sense to, like, if they complete one role, to look at the data they're getting, see if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I agree. I think regular check-ins would make it much better, and for them to share the work in process product.
Yes. Well, the
So
other
that-
thing is that we may be able to help them, probably more Kate than us, but to go to a manager and say, we're having some trouble getting all this thing through. Do you need help? Because you can
Right.
have someone who gets busy with business and doesn't get this done.
Exactly.
So we may have to haunt them a little bit.
No, agreed. It's good to keep things moving.
Yep.
Before you know
we
it,
are.
it's gonna be July, right?
Yes. So
So
that's all,
Chris-
but we wanted you to know where we were and that we are, we're going to stay with this in a different way. In the past, we probably let things go too long, and we're not going to do that in this regime, different times. Because we had long delays with the prior administrator and we're hard to get things done. But I think if we're together on our process and we meet with them every month or two, we'll get where we need to be.
Right. No, I completely agree. And you'll get, more importantly, you'll get what you need.
Yes. Yes.
Chris, do you have, so what is the depth of people who can do the classification study? Why is that a tough thing to do or get done or find someone?
The decision was to just go back out to market, right, and see what might be out there for the overall benefit of the town and the work product that we're looking for. You know, it's never a bad idea to have you know, multiple opportunities to consider. And again, the expedited time frame around this and splitting it was to make sure that the compensation data, which it was clear to us a couple of months ago, was critical to policymakers in town to have when we start to have budget conversations for next year. And it was clear even this early on that both pieces wouldn't be able to be done in time. So that was the prioritization that Mary and the personnel board have described tonight.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think it makes a great deal of sense. But I guess I was surprised when we talked about earlier that one person responded who didn't meet the qualifications. And I just wondering in sort of your broader experience, you know, will we have difficulty finding someone to do this or not?
Understood. Appreciate the clarification. Yeah, the one actual in particular thing that what we included was a list of criteria. It was 5 different things that we're looking for. Things like experience in Massachusetts, comparable communities and the like. And what we did ask for was we asked for a firm who has done a classification and compensation study with Massachusetts municipalities, with 3 Massachusetts municipalities in the last few years. And to us, that's a critical level of experience that we would want to bring someone on. And the one firm that Kate referenced earlier that submitted a proposal did not meet that minimum criteria. So just by the actual procurement process, they were disqualified from even being able to be further considered.
So do you think
the other thing,
success, or do you think it'll be a problem trying to find a firm?
I don't. I think it was an odd time when we went out with COVID and everything, and the conversations that we have since had, both Kate and I, with a few firms and folks that we know and are aware of. You know, there are people out there that are interested and that will be on the lookout. I think it was just it was a unique situation in which we received only two responses, which is atypical. But I chalk it up to the times that we are living in.
I think the other thing, Chris, is that we haven't been out in that market for a long time. If you look at how long it's been since we've done any studies, and because we are probably seen as a small town, people don't think about us much. Yeah. And if we get back into a cycle or get back into a relationship with one of those companies, we'll be fine. But, we haven't been out in the markets. That when they probably saw it, people thought of it as small and probably didn't know what it was.
Thank you. John, any follow-up?
No, that covers it all. Thank you. Thanks,
Robin?
Mary.
Great. Thank you. Take care.
Robin, any follow-up?
No, it was
Okay.
good discussion. Thank you, Mary and Kate.
Okay.
Great. Let us know if we can do anything.
Thank you.
I move to authorize the town administrator to execute all documents related to the personal classification and compensation study for the town of Dover.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor? Aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Take care.
Now I got to scroll down to the next agenda item. Take me a half hour. It's a bit of a number. Appointment of Britt Hansen to the Recycling Committee. So the Recycling Committee is requesting that the board appoint Britt Hansen to the Recycling Committee. Any questions or comments, John?
Carol, would you like to add anything?
You muted, Carol.
There we go. Didn't want to hear babies crying in the background. So Britt is a longtime born, bred, and raised Dover resident who has come back after her educational time. Lives with her mom now. She's actually one of the two founders of a wonderful new Facebook page called Sustainable Living Dover, which is gathering increasing membership and attention. And so I reached out to her when I saw that, and she is absolutely thrilled to be nominated to join the recycling committee. The recycling committee thinks there's tremendous synergy between what we do and what her Facebook page is doing. So we expect to see some really improved communication, social media communication relative to the whole issue of sustainability and recycling. So we totally support her recommendation and hope that you will too. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't think I could add anything to that except I would second the nomination.
Okay. Yeah. All in favor? Aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Britt.
Thank you, Britt.
Thank you, Britt. Okay, onward and upward. 1.6, Board of Selectmen updates. The board members will provide updates, if any. I will start with Mr. Jeffries.
Well, before I give you a brief update, I just want to say publicly that we should thank Felicia for all of her team, all of the work, everything that has gone into the election. The amount of hours and time that I've seen the folks involved in the whole election process, Mr. Chair, at the townhouse during what seems like the past 3 months, it seems like they have been preparing for the absentee ballots, preparing for the mail-in ballots. I know that I put my mail-in ballot in the box where the real estate taxes go 2 months ago, and then I think it officially became the drop spot. But it was very impressive. It really, really was impressive how everything in a small town got done so well.
You know, I would check on a weekly basis as this whole process started going back with, you know, go in the office and check with Felicia. I mean, I agree with you a bazillion percent. The amount of work that got done, the amount of time that was taken, how smoothly everything went was extraordinary. And I really hope that after Tuesday night, Felicia's taken a month off because she certainly deserves all of the time to rest and recuperate before we start to argue with her about how to set up town meeting 2021, which I think is next week, by the way. So
yeah,
it's going to be a very short month. But it just was, it was without a flaw. It was just terrific. So I'm very happy that you brought that up, and double kudos.
And Peg Crowley and the constable and all of the volunteers that worked, that when you walked in, check you in, just the whole attention to detail with everyone from Peg to Felicia to even the folks that set up the things, just moving all of the things around.
Yeah.
All of the staff, very well done.
All done without a hiccup, all done very, very well. Excellent operation. You know, operations, when you don't think about operations, that means they're running exceptionally well, because generally you only hear about the hiccups, and there were just none. All right, Robin, you want to comment here, or?
I agree with everything you both said. I saw Felicia's car there 24/7.
So it seemed, yes. I couldn't agree. Yes, so it seemed. Well, we're going to have to take her out and get a couple of beers or something when this is all done.
I second that.
I said that because
I second that.
Yeah,
I think she drinks wine.
I was gonna think, yeah, maybe champagne would be better. All right. Again, John, thanks. So any updates on Hale or?
No, nothing further to add on Hale or any of my the items that we've covered. I think we covered all of Hale stuff last week. We're in very good shape.
Okay, Robin?
No, I've been remiss. I haven't done anything. I have some catch up to do.
I find
Chris, she's got to go on the remedial list. She needs that training update and some remediation. I don't know. She's always so reliable. Okay, right. So I'd have to join you, Robin. I think from what I remember, it seems to have been a relatively common quiet week. I know Ted met on Tuesday, and I think there is a COVID-19 task force meeting tomorrow, and I think Chris will cover all that. Chris, I remind you, I probably will not be able to make that meeting. I do have a prior engagement, and I'm sure you'll cover Carol. So, any comments on the upcoming agendas for the 19th? I look forward to the update on the quarterly goals. That should be very, very interesting, particularly given what Dave has gone through. Okay, then I'm going to go on to 1.7. Mr. Dwelly, Town Administrator updates.
Thanks, Bob. Just in addition for the next meeting, I wanted to mention, it was an email that was sent around, but just to confirm for the board that Minuteman will be with us when we meet next to talk about their borrowing request to finish the field project at their location. So I spoke with the superintendent yesterday, as well as Ford, who's our school committee representative, and they'll both be with the board to talk about what the request is and what that process looks like at your next meeting. So on COVID, if you've been watching the news, it's been a very busy few weeks. I think today I just saw that we hit the highest number of positive cases since the spring. So things are certainly on the upswing again, as many folks predicted. With that, Dover moved into the red category on the state's designation of community risk on Thursday. We moved into that because we had a total of 6 cases within the past week, and the state's methodology for counting, which is a positive rate of 8 or more cases per 100,000 people, will trigger that. We are on a positive note down to 5 positive cases. And if this continues to trend, we will drop back into the state's safe zone. But we've been working closely, the Board of Health and myself, with the state on different things that communities can do. The state offers a lot of resources and support for communities, particularly communities who have been in the red for multiple weeks that have persistent case creep. So we were in the red last week. We hope to drop off relatively soon, but that's all to say that this is still out there and everyone should remain diligent, and we as a task force continue to monitor it for the community, as well as monitoring staff operations to make sure that everything is going well and everyone is safe. The other piece I wanted to mention regarding COVID is the CARES Act reimbursement deadline for the state was Friday. We submitted our request for the remaining balance that we had that Dover was allotted, which was a little over $300,000. We received a confirmation of those funds this week, and they will be primarily used for the HVAC work that we've talked about in the town library, the townhouse, and the Carroll Community Center, which have been identified buildings that need or that could benefit from some improved air quality and airflow. a lot of the other funds will also go towards cleaning supplies and PPEs and some additional technology, staff time. We're really getting a good utility out of this money. But I just did want to highlight that fortunately have been able to cover all of the things to date that we've needed to cover via those grant funds, which has been certainly a blessing. On the air quality piece, our building superintendent has finalized the equipment and mechanical needs of the 3 buildings that I mentioned earlier with our air quality consultant. Half of the equipment will be delivered this week. That equipment is the portable HEPA air filters with UV light filtration that will essentially draw in any bacteria that is in the air, kill it, and then recirculate that back out into fresh air. So those will be distributed to the 3 buildings that I mentioned once they're received. The other half of the work really deals with some heavy duty mechanical upgrades and updates with exhaust fans and functionality, which will be done before the end of this calendar year. So we will, as Bob mentioned, to meet as a task force tomorrow to talk about these topics as well as the other things that we discussed. Those are the major updates for COVID that I had for the board this evening. Just a reminder for folks at the Carroll Community Center Building Committee is meeting this Monday evening. They're in the process of finalizing concepts of what a new and renovated building could look like. And as they finalize those concepts and those plans, they will then re-engage with the community to begin that continued dialogue about how we've gotten to this place, what we're looking at, get some feedback, and continue to move forward to the schematic design phase of their effort. I will say, just to highlight that we did talk, as we've been talking about what annual town meeting in the spring might look like because of COVID, and whether and how that could affect the timing of the town meeting for this particular building project. So it's certainly on the building committee's radar as well, but that's to say we are still moving toward, and the building committee is still moving toward having proposals for town meeting in May, but they are aware that there might be a need for flexibility in terms of when we would go back to the community with those options. Colonial Water Company reached out to let us know that they will join us at a future meeting, and they are in the midst of the final construction phase on the work that they had discussed and that they've been doing. They're still working towards the Thanksgiving completion date. I had a call with them on our license negotiation earlier today, and Nick indicated to me that they are on track, but he did want me to pass along that they were hoping to join the board once that work gets completed so that they can share with the board and with the community what that work entails and the benefit that their customers will receive as a result of that work. I just wanted to make a plug for our land use director recruitment. As everyone knows, that is active. We're actively recruiting for it. The deadline is November 9th. So I just would encourage people to please share this with your networks and anyone you might know. And as a reminder, our land use director will be our full-time planner position that we are recruiting for. So a key position and a very important one, and looking forward to starting to interview candidates as we get closer to the end of November. Carol's on here, so our shout out to Carol and Chris Polson and the recycling committee crew for bringing in some grant dollars to the town through the Commonwealth Sustainable Materials Program. That's a big win, and I know it's always a great thing to see when folks are bringing in and supplementing our operations with grant dollars. So just wanted to give a shout out there. And the last thing I wanted to do is Dave's off, but I just wanted to really thank him for the leadership that he's shown in the work that he presented to everybody this evening. The work isn't pretty. It's a drag, it's technical, but he's he's helped the town in a short time get to a place where we are now a modern IT organization, and we can just continue to build from there. It is such a great thing coming into work every day with internet accessibility, no outages. My computer doesn't randomly shut off. If I need an update, it comes through. We can communicate in the 21st century as we should with staff and with our applications. And it's truly been a night and day difference. So I just wanted it's a big team effort there, but I did want to just thank Dave for his work, because he came in the midst of a lot and really helped push us forward and over the finish line. So I certainly appreciate that. That's all I have this evening.
It's
Chris,
amazing how much has been accomplished.
Yes.
Chris, did you mention Tad? I was distracted.
I didn't. So I thought Dave did a pretty good job of covering everything IT related earlier. I suppose the only things that I would add is Dave and the TAB have worked out and finalized our path forward for our time and attendance effort, which is really our next phase of now building on our IT infrastructure and our network. So as we look to modernize the operation of the town, reduce paper, reduce the amount of staff time that people need to spend on shuffling paper around and signing things. Time and attendance was one that we would really benefit from. And all it really is taking what is presently a paper-based process that documents need to be handed off to multiple folks for our payroll, to just an automated process that will integrate with our financial systems as well as our other human capital systems, so that we'll be able to do a lot more things much more quickly and in a modern way. So this will be another bear of a project, but one that is necessary, and I look forward to getting started on that. The other is we've got an email policy finalized that will be. We've got a concept of an email policy finalized. Dave is putting the finishing touches on the actual policy document. That'll be before the board. I'm hoping at your next meeting, but at some point over the next few meetings, to get final authorization for that to become the official town policy on email. Just a quick recap for the board. The town had initially granted town emails to everybody involved in the town, close to 200 people. We realized after conversations with folks that half of the community members preferred to use their own personal emails just out of convenience, and there was nothing binding us or requiring us to provide town emails to folks. I think it was as done as a way of assisting and as a courtesy, but realized that a lot of folks would prefer their own email policy, their own personal email account. So we did a lot of work with community members, with boards and committees, and with the TAB, and have structured a nice email policy where the town's elected board and the town's elected and regulatory boards and commissions will be required to have a town email account, and the town's other boards and committees like task forces and other ad hoc committees will be able to use their own personal accounts, so that they don't have to use an email account. But we'll have a whole presentation for you with the document in the next couple of weeks. But I just wanted to highlight that because that was a decision point that was made at the last TAB meeting.
So I think you've undersold time and attendance. When I went out a long time ago, when we were talking about projects, time and attendance was your number one priority on your whiteboard in your office. I think you were pulling your beard hair out at that point in time, but it's grown back. But this really, this is going to do two things. Number one is, other than the website, this will be the first real operating implementation of the system, right?
Correct.
Well, we did the accounting system, but for us, this will be the first one to go. And just the payback, I mean, I think Dave spent like the summer in the attic, and most of the paper up there was from the time and attendance paper-based system, was he not?
Correct.
Yeah. So if we can get this thing right, we're gonna save half the rainforest in Brazil. We're gonna save Dave from going up into the attic next summer and taking it, taking all that stuff away. And we're gonna demonstrate whether or not we can actually implement a system. So I think this should be considered, to me, this is a big deal, a really big first, and we shouldn't have. So thanks. John, anything for Chris?
Nothing for Chris. I think that was an excellent summary. Lots going on. A lot of things getting accomplished.
Yes.
Boxes being checked. So, Chris, well done.
Robin, do you have anything?
Other than good job, no.
Okay, then I think we'll move on, and I think we're coming to the last. This is like a Johnny Carson thing, for those of you who still remember Johnny Carson. The last envelope, consent agenda. The consent agenda items include approved BOS memorandum, Ray 2020 town report, renew license agreement with 5 Whiting Road, vote noon closings on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve, approve August 12th and August 26th, 2020 open session meeting minutes. Any discussion? John?
I will second the motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Well, hang on, don't go so fast. Robin, any comments?
No, other than I'm pretty happy to go eat dinner. My stomach is just a lot of noises.
All right, now I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Now you can go, John.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
All right then. How about a motion to adjourn?
A move to adjourn.
We'll have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Thank you all once again for just a delightful meeting. It was